Kia ora koutou. The current Ngā Paerewa standards for the teaching profession were developed in 2016 and 2017 by teachers, principals, early childhood leaders and the Teaching Council. They were developed through careful collaboration and engagement with the teaching profession. There is every reason to believe that the overall breadth of coverage and general approach is still fit for purpose. Since they were published, the Council has received a range of feedback on the usefulness for design of ITE programs, for individual teachers to reflect on as part of appraisal and later professional growth cycles, and for leaders. And feedback has been generally very positive, but suggestions for improvement have included the following. Firstly, that leaders of teachers and principals in particular have found it difficult to see how their practice is reflected in the standards. Secondly, whilst the holistic and overlapping nature of the standards is valued, the result is that some expectations of teachers lack specificity, which can make it hard for identification of what is important, both in teacher education and for a teacher's own ongoing development. And lastly, that there would be some value in calling out more specifically the areas of knowledge and practice that are foundational for teaching. Our approach to developing a revised set of standards was therefore centred very much on retaining what teachers value in the existing standards, while looking for ways to draw out some aspects that have become more prominent. We have also considered whether it was possible to present the set of standards in a way that was more intuitive and accessible to those entering the profession and to external stakeholders in the wider public for whom the standards are intended to support confidence in the knowledge, skills, and practice of the teaching profession. We are not currently proposing changes to Ngā Tikanga Matatika Code of Professional Responsibility. Much has changed since 2017, and the teaching profession and society have continued to grow and evolve. For example, we've seen shifts in practice resulting from the COVID years, further development of the learning sciences and how the brain works, the ubiquity of artificial intelligence, and the refresh of the New Zealand curriculum and Te Maurotanga o Aotearoa. This ongoing development requires the standards to adapt, ensuring that all teachers feel prepared and confident to teach. The Teaching Council has been signalling for around a year that it would be timely to consider revisions to the standards in 2025. The proposal set out in the discussion document that accompanies this video has also had regard to priorities set out in the recent Statement of Government Policy relating to Teaching Council functions. This consultation process relates only to the standards for the teaching profession as expressed in English. It is important to note that the expression of the standards in Te Reo in 2017 was developed alongside the English standards and also had its own consultative process. We have recently commenced a process with leaders of the profession in Māori medium settings to develop a new expression of the standards in Te Reo Māori. The scope of this work is somewhat open-ended. If it is their preference that once again this be an authentic Te Reo Māori expression of essentially the same standards as expressed in English, then the Teaching Council is happy to support that. But we are also open to the Māori medium sector developing a distinct set of professional standards for teachers. If this were to occur, these would likely become the professional standards for Māori medium settings. There will be a separate consultation related to the refresh of Ngā Paerewa. The Council has received ongoing feedback that principals do not see their practice clearly articulated in the current standards for teachers, and although the requirement to be endorsed against these standards as part of the professional growth cycle for the renewal of a practicing certificate is understood, most networks of principals are using other frameworks for reflection, e.g. the Leadership Capabilities Framework. The Council will explore the creation of a separate set of standards for principals, using as a starting point the well-established standards that reside in principal collective agreements. There will be a separate consultation related to any proposed standards for principals. This next section will talk you through the proposed new structure of the standards by showing you how they have evolved from the existing standards. We are proposing no changes at all for the Te Tiriti o Waitangi Partnership Standard. The current Design for Learning standard covers 3 distinct aspects of teaching practice, as shown here. These changes have been complemented by altering the proposed order of the remaining 4 standards and using more active language in the titles. As noted previously, we have looked at ways that might present the set of standards in a way that was more intuitive and accessible to those entering the profession and to external stakeholders in the wider public for whom the standards are intended to support confidence in the knowledge and skills of the teaching profession. One proposed way of doing this is by grouping standards into 3 domains. I know, professional knowledge; I do, professional practice; I am, professional engagement. The 3 domains we have put forward are not proposed to have any formal standing in the set of professional standards. Their contribution is simply as a device to support understanding of the proposed changes. The domains are intended to differentiate and group standards together to make them more understandable and relatable to teachers and their day-to-day practice. Consideration was given to also including Standard 1 Te Tiriti o Waitangi Partnership as part of I Am Professional Engagement. On balance, however, it was felt that Te Tiriti o Waitangi Partnership flowed across all 3 of the domains and that there was merit in retaining Te Tiriti o Waitangi Partnership as being the first standard. We would be interested in feedback on this. This proposal uses the term focus areas to designate the detailed statements under each standard, as shown here for the proposed Te Tiriti o Waitangi Partnership Standard. These are currently called elaborations. Elaborations currently have no formal standing as part of the 2017 standards, although in practice, professional leaders may be choosing to incorporate them into teachers' professional growth cycle processes. Our proposal is to make the focus areas more integral to the application of the 2025 standards. Including the focus areas as part of the standards would mean that schools and ECE services would be required to include the focus areas in each of the required elements of their professional growth cycle. Once new standards have been published, principals and professional leaders will need to revisit the work they have done to facilitate a common understanding of the standards in their own context and what meeting and using them looks like. This is element A of the PGC, facilitating a common understanding of the standards. Including the focus areas in the standards may make this process more straightforward, as the focus area articulates quality practices. We welcome feedback from the profession, including those involved in teaching initial teacher education programs. Our goal is to ensure that these regulatory arrangements are clear and effective. We want to avoid unintended consequences, such as requiring every process to separately account for each of the 34 focus areas in a cumbersome way. At the same time, we aim to prevent any ambiguity that could create confusion. Your insights will help us strike the right balance. The detailed focus areas have been outlined in full in our consultation document and within the online survey that we will share at the end of this video. Please take the time to find them and consider them. If you are currently in a staff meeting, now would be a good time to pause the video so that everyone can look at them and discuss them before providing feedback. The changes proposed here are not intended to fundamentally depart from the standards currently in place. The changes are more about emphasis, nuance, and presentation. Given this, we are interested in feedback on an approach to rolling out and embedding these proposed new standards. We propose that it would be feasible, with appropriate supporting resources, to have the new standards in place from 2026. The timeline and process for giving effect to the standards in ITE programs will be considered separately in consultation with ITE providers. Your views are sought on this approach and any essential supports and safeguards you believe should be in place. The deadline for feedback is 5 p.m. Friday, the 2nd of May 2025. If you scan the QR code using your phone or enter the tiny URL into your web browser, you can submit your feedback via our online questionnaire. We thank you for taking the time to watching this video. Our website contains the full consultation document, which has been emailed to the email address that we have for every New Zealand registered teacher. Mata tu tu mata ora. Stand tall, shape the future.